But the problem I have with small ball is we keep seeing the height of the league decrease and decrease because the league wants more and more shooters, which we've talked about many times before. And the 3 point is just going up and up. But we're seeing more shot attempts by larger players. Um, we're seeing more shot attempts from larger players like Joel Embiid, Jokic, Giannis getting his jump shot now. And it seems that these taller players are becoming more and more versatile. So the question becomes, does it start to even out anywhere where we have these centers that are able to play like point guards? And there's a graph that I had somewhere that showed the difference in player efficiency based on position, and it was really interesting to see. And the reason I think the graph looked like that, where it sort of looked like, small forwards and shooting guards were starting to see an increase. And I think the reason for that is because not a lot of people nowadays are fundamental five, the fundamental five positions. And that's sort of how Popovich plays now. We have a point guard, we have a shooting guard, we have a small forward, power forward, center, and so on. That's how the Spurs have always done things ever since Pop has been coach. But other teams, you look at the Heat, you look at the Celtics, you look at all these teams that have gone far in the playoffs, and they don't have a super specific shooting guard. They don't have a super specific small forward. They don't have a super specific power forward or center. And it seems like every player on a roster now seems to have three different positions that they're listed as. They're listed as a shooting guard. They're listed as a power forward. They're listed as a shooting guard. A small forward, a shooting guard. And even centers like Evan Mobley. If you go to the Cavs on Basketball Reference, Basketball Reference at one point had Evan Mobley with his size listed as small forward, power forward, center. And so it's really interesting seeing how these positions sort of have become flexible, because you don't necessarily have to have somebody at that specific position anymore as long as you have five players on the field. And I think that goes back again to small ball, because even if you're, 6'4", we can still put you at the center position and you'll be listed as a center, even though you're in no way at all a center. And so I want to go to this article that's really good by Run Repeat that has some good stats here. So, as you can see here, this is from September of 2021. So this is sort of towards the start of this season. So things have changed a little bit since then, but I think most of the article still holds up. So these are their key findings, which I want to read out. So again, this is by Run Repeat. So it says the average NBA player is 6'6" and has never been shorter over the past 39 seasons. Point guards are the tallest they've ever been in league history. All other positions are the shortest since the 80s. So again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is we can put some of these taller players at a point guard position, even though they might not necessarily be point guards, which is why the point guard is the tallest position and the other ones are getting shorter. 72% of the league is 6'9" or under 6'9", which is the most of the most percentage of a league under 6'9" in the past 40 seasons. And again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier, this next point here. 40% of the power forwards field goal attempts are three-pointers, first time in NBA history, while centers are getting close to 20%, currently at 19.5%. So again, we're seeing a lot of versatile bigs that are able to get this 3-point percentage that we used to not be able to see. We a lot of players used to play like Giannis and just simply go through the paint, and that was their bread and butter. We didn't see people that were 6'10", 7 foot that were like shooting beyond the arc because it was just ridiculous. It was like 2K stats. In 2K, anytime you make a player that is really good at dunking or really good at mid range, their 3-point percentage is always their 3-point percentage is always like 15%. So if we look at this graph here, this is what I was looking at before. So this shows the height over the past couple years, and hopefully you can see this well. So I want to point out some of the dips here. So just like, again, any business or any sports team, they do what shows success and they do what's trendy. So these significant dips here are significant dips from point guards and shooting guards. So I wish they had the years more specifically, but I'm going to call this dip right here around 1993 or so. So 1993 was Michael Jordan winning championships. Michael Jordan, one of the best players, I would say the greatest player of all time. And I know that's going to get a lot of hate from LeBron fans, but Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. And he played shooting guard. So we see this little dip here as he goes for his championships. And then it starts to rise again, and then it dips with some more championships, and then it rises, and then it dips. And then here we see a little bit of a dip again, which is around 2003. So again, we see a little bit of a dip around the early 2000s. And then Kobe got his championships around 2003. So we see a little bit more of a dip, and then it increases, and it kind of levels off here around the mid-2000s, which is when, again, we started to see more of a fundamental five. So, 2007 with the Spurs, 2008 with the Celtics Big Three, and so on, and Dirk with the Mavs, and so on. But then, again, we start to see a massive dip here, and ever since then, it's been pretty much a steady decrease down. So I want you guys to take a massive guess of when this massive dip happened and why it's been on a decrease ever since then. This goes back to the very first thing we were talking about this episode. This right here is Steph Curry. This right here is Steph Curry getting drafted, and his 3-point attempts, and the league wanting more and more shooters, decreasing height as it continues to go down. And if we look at the average height per position, it actually seems pretty level. Like, it's been increasing and decreasing, and it's almost a flat line. It's not a flat line, but it hasn't been crazy up, crazy down anywhere. It's stayed pretty consistent. But if we go to free throw attempts per position, which is further down here, as we can see, there's this massive spike in centers from around 2005 to now. And we are also seeing a massive increase again in power forward as well. And the point guard actually dropped a little bit. And I think, again, this is just sort of the versatility, the ability to play at different parts of the floor by our big men now, and being able to shoot everywhere, having many tools in the toolbox, and just being very versatile. I keep using that word, but I don't really know what other word to use. Just being very versatile. And see, again, true shooting percentage. Just from 2011 to now, in the past decade, look at this massive spike that we have here. And I'm sorry for audio listeners that can't watch this, but just the massive spikes that we've seen, and this right here is the main reason that people want shooters. Because look at this 3-point attempts, 3-point percentage, all that per position. So again, we see these massive spikes around the MJ and Kobe championships, and then once Curry gets drafted as well, we see this massive spike that's just been increasing ever since then, and hasn't really decreased at all. And I think one reason that we're also seeing sort of this decrease in height isn't just from the NBA drafting smaller players, but I think it actually is the fact that these players, there's also an element that these players have always been this height. And what I mean by that is the NBA is a lot more strict on confirming height now. So a couple years ago, this was a very recently too. This isn't even that long ago. The NBA made some stricter rules about, you used to be able to be 6'8" and say you were 6'10". And now, if you're 6'8", you're going to get listed as being 6'8". You can't stand on your tippy toes and lie that you're 6'10" anymore. You're going to be listed as 6'8". And so I think that's really decreased the average height of the NBA as well, because less people are able to say that they're 6'10", and that sort of idea as well, that there's much more height regulations whenever it comes to the combine and the draft and that sort of thing. But I really think we are sort of seeing more of a push once again that I've talked about before towards more of a small ball offense. The Houston Rockets tried it and it didn't really work out. And so, but despite the Houston Rockets not having it figured out, I think other people are definitely trying to give it a try, because big men, again, are mainly used for rebounds and blocks, but smaller players can be used for steals. And so it may seem like you're losing a lot of defense by not getting big guys, but you're also gaining sort of some defense in steals that people like Giannis, Rudy Gobert might not be able to get, but people like Drew Holiday would be able to get those sort of steals. And again, just the shooting aspect of it, and I'm sort of talking myself in circles now because I've talked about this on many other episodes before if you want to check those out. So I think the league is making a push to more of a small ball. But what's interesting is that a lot of the people in this next draft are power forwards and centers, which we haven't seen in a while. A lot of the players are big men, and we haven't seen a draft that's been packed with this many big men in a while, because once again, the draft has been filled with many point guards, shooting guards, and so on that sort of go on to be the franchise player for whoever they're drafted by.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.